Hi, I am Kate Jupe with Service Bar, and I'm going to teach you how to make our khachapuri with your sourdough starter. Khachapuri was one of our favorite items when we were a dine-in restaurant, and we don't currently have it on our carry-out menu, so we thought we would teach you how to make it at home because now seems like the perfect day for some cheesy-filled bread. The first thing we're going to do in the morning, the day before you eat khachapuri, is feed your starter. So I have 35 grams of my starter, which is called Yeasty Boys. I'm going to add 70 grams of water to that. I feed mine with bread flour, and I use a Canadian hard rye that we use in our distillery to distill all of our spirits. That's what I use to feed our starter. All right, I'm gonna go put the starter somewhere warm for maybe 6 to 8 hours till it's nice and happy, and then we'll come back and we'll make the dough. In my bowl, I'm going to put my active starter. I'm gonna add a little bit more milk and water. In here, I have sugar and salt. We're just gonna add it all. This is like one of those dump recipes, right? You're just gonna add a bunch of dump stuff in a bowl. We've got some olive oil. And even though I use bread flour to feed my starter for this dough, I really like to use AP flour for this part of it. So I'm gonna add AP flour. I think it results in a softer bread, which for this bread is perfect. So I'm going to mix this. This is a wet dough, so this might take me a minute. Once we get this dough all mixed together, we're gonna cover it. We could just cover it right in this bowl and put it in the refrigerator until tomorrow. And I think through the magic of video, you'll see that in just a second. Feel free to get in there and knead. Again, it's a wet, sticky dough. I don't usually make small quantities like this, so this is fun for me. Sorry for all the clanging. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this in plastic and put it in the refrigerator, and tomorrow we'll finish this. Hey, so it's day 2 and we are gonna finish our khachapuri today. We should be eating that cheesy bread in an hour and a half. I'm gonna start out by greasing a sheet of parchment paper. This just makes it easier to get it off of the tray without any problems. I used olive oil just because it was nearby, but you can use canola oil. I'm also gonna make our cheese filling. You can use any cheeses you like. Right now at the grocery store, you're gonna find a lot of your fresh cheeses like burrata or stracciatella are gonna be, they might be on sale, which makes them the perfect fit for this. I don't mind some of the brine getting in there. I like a little bit of juice. It makes it easier for it to be a dipping bread. This bread is really great because you can tear the sides off and dip it into the cheese in the middle. I'm just gonna put gloves on to make this easier. I like to add a little bit of saltiness to it, so I'm gonna add some feta as well. You could add shredded cheeses if you want, but for it to be really dippy, you want it to have a good deal of moisture. All right, so all I'm doing is just, my favorite part is squeezing the cheeses together and breaking it up. You can add seasonings now if you wanted to add like some kind of spices or herbs. You're welcome to add those. I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt to this. You can always taste it because these cheeses are so delicious. Like this, I don't think is super runny, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more of my feta brine, or I could add the burrata brine. I just want it to be a little loose. Okay, so this looks great. Now we're gonna finish our dough, which was in the refrigerator overnight. The dough is a wet dough, so we are going to put a little bit of bread dough down on our workstation. The recipe that I'm going to share We'll make you 2 good-sized khachapuri's. So it's about 500 grams. All right. So if you wanted to measure it out, you could. I'm just going to rip it in half. I like to make mine into smooth balls. So I tuck everything in to make it a belly button on the bottom. I put the belly button down and just kind of roll it to make that skin on top really tight and nice. Set this aside while I do it to the next one. All right, so we have our 2 khachapuri's. Spreading my flour. I'm just gonna roll this out. If the dough is pushing back, like cinching back up like it is right now, you can let it rest for 10 minutes and come back to it. If it keeps sticking to your rolling pin, just roll it in a little more flour or fold it. All right, I'll let this one rest while I knock the other one out. It's weird to be talking to people and not bread. The reason we refrigerated our dough overnight was to give our sourdough time to develop flavor, so it should have a nice tang to it. All right, so I have a beautiful dough here. It's just rolled out, maybe 1/4 inch thick. So what I do, you can do lots of shapes. The traditional shape is an I shape, but you can also do plus signs. We're just gonna take our edges and roll them in so that we get a nice lip, and that lip is what's gonna keep the cheese from pouring all out over your tray. Just pinch that down. Do the same on this side. And then I take my ends and I twist them. All right, it's gonna look like a tiny hole. We're gonna let it sit on the tray for a few minutes while we work on the other one, and we'll come back and deal with that. All right, round 2. Again, you can do any shape you want. I think you could probably even do a pizza shape. I like this because I actually like a lot of crust to dip into my cheese, and this gives me some big thick pieces and some thin pieces. Sometimes I share. All right. And then this is going to go on the tray. While we're letting that sit for a minute and be pretty and happy and rested, I'm gonna get my egg wash, clean up my table real quick. Okay. With this, I like to egg wash my bread dough right away for the khachapuri. So I have just an egg scrambled with a little bit of milk added to it. And I want to get all of my edges really nice. Okay, and then last but not least, we are going to put the cheese in it. It's okay to do a big heaping pile. It's okay if a little spills out the sides onto your tray. Everything is going to still be delicious, but I don't want to short myself on any cheese. So at this point, you are going to go turn on your oven to the highest temperature, which is usually 500 degrees. And while your oven is preheating, you can open up a glass of wine or pour yourself a spirit or a cocktail, or soda, a water. And then we will cook it as soon as your oven's ready. All right, we are gonna go throw this in the oven. I'm gonna use the hearth that we have here. We're gonna bake it for about 5 minutes and check on it. In the hearth, I'm gonna have to rotate it. In your home oven, if you have a hot spot, you'll wanna rotate it as well. But we're just gonna check it every 5 minutes until the crust is nice and done and the cheese is starting to brown a little. So here we go. All right, so we're gonna check on it now, and I have my probe thermometer, so we'll make sure that the dough is completely cooked through. I love how the cheese is all loose and it's starting to brown. I'm going to put my thermometer in, and I am looking for it to be right around 200, so we nailed it. Let's take it out and finish this. So when we cook this at the restaurant, we would throw it on a plate. We don't have any of those because we're only doing carry out these days. But we'll go ahead. I love to garnish any of my cheesy breads with a lot of chives. We made a white balsamic gastrique that you can drizzle over the top if you want just a little sweetness. You can put vegetables with it, anything that you would like to dip in some really warm, delicious cheese. So, cheers.